All right. 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 Hello. 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 We have a hot inflation report. The PCE came out, and that key Fed inflation measure rose 0.6%, which is why the market is down. And puts, as Vincent said, are probably printing. Cameron, what's up? Good morning, man. I got this email from SoFi last night. Yes, SoFi's bank issue is changing from the Bancorp Bank to SoFi Bank, so they're officially getting their name. That's awesome. Larry, what's up? Ray, I'm so hungry, bro. Ray, I feel you. I'm hungry as well. Sanjay, morning from the other side of the world. Sanjay, where are you messaging from? That's awesome. Dex, what's up? Eeyore, what's up? Jason, what's up? What's up? Not the market. That's correct. All right, we're gonna get into the market right now. TJ, the wheel deal. What's up? What's up? What's up? Yeah, look, I mean, we got Palantir under $8 already. We've got a bunch of stocks in the pre-market that are down. Paul, what's up? DRK, what's up? Happy Friday. Happy Friday. The Fed key inflation reports did not come in nice. And as a result of that, we are seeing some of the ramifications. So here we go. This is the market. You got Tesla down 3.26%. Let me just close out of a couple of things here. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. We got Tesla down at 3.6%. We've got Palantir all the way down at what is this? 3.78%. So 791. I think it touched like 797 yesterday, but nothing below that. Let's keep this going here. Let me get rid of this. Too many tabs open. Okay, there we go. Now we should be in a good spot. Okay, here we go. So we got Tesla there, Intel down 1.48%, Spotify down 2.3%, TQQQ, there you go, down 5.28%. So that one's getting hit pretty badly. Obviously, it's triple leveraged. Microsoft down to 250, Nvidia down to 233, so not giving up all of its earnings gains, but still down. Amazon down to 93. Where's Google? Are we getting Google under 90 officially? Yeah, there we go. Google is under $90 officially at $89. Let's see how much lower it can get. But we've got a little bit of a falling knife here. Apple at 147, Hood, Robin at 979, Microsoft again down. Enphase, do we have it below 200? Wow, 284. It is not falling below that $200 range. Let's see if we can get it there. Again, 180 is the price target on Enphase. So obviously this report came in a little bit hot, and I want to get to the report right now. Amid buying Google, we'll see. If we can get to like 86ish, 87ish, that would be really exciting. Good morning, Square and Melly, looking good. So on the Daily Capital today, we went through Square earnings, Lucid earnings, actually Unity earnings a little bit, and the other one, what was the other one? Square, Lucid, Nvidia and Nvidia earnings, and we talked all about their earnings. Nvidia was probably the best one. Square actually wasn't that bad. Cash App is just doing phenomenal. They have like 51 million monthly active users, and it's bringing $848 million of revenue. So Cash App is pretty good, but this inflation report is not going to be able to hang up with the good earnings. The core personal consumption expenditures price index increased 0.6% for the month and was up 4.7% from a year ago. Headline inflation increased 0.6% and 5.4% respectively. All the numbers were higher than estimates. And so that is basically why we're seeing a little bit of a crash right now in the market. Consumer spending rose more than expected. This was obviously going to happen because we have a great jobs report. So obviously, if you have a job, you're going to spend more money, and that's going to lead to the overall expenditures for consumers going up. Personal income increased 1.4% higher than 1.2%. Again, that's because of job competition. The personal savings rate also went up, rising to 4.7%. Much of the January's inflation surge came from 2% rise in energy prices, according to Friday's report. Food prices increased 0.4%. Goods and services rose 0.6%. Now, is this the biggest deal in the world? I mean, probably not. Food prices are up 11% year over year. Energy is up 9.6%. We kind of knew that was going to happen. It's just a question of how fast can this stuff start to go back down, towards April, May, June, et cetera. Because ultimately, it needs to be able to go back down in order for this market to get back to rallying. And that's not happening as of now. Nvidia is a great company that is overvalued. That was basically our conclusion on the Daily Capital. We actually did a really good earnings deep dive, and I think you guys will all enjoy it. All right, let's listen to CNBC actually explain to us what's going on in earnings before we open the market.
Welcome back to Squawk Box. Rick Santel here, live on the floor of the I wish I was on the floor. CME HQ with some of the last breaking news of a very wild week. Our January read on personal income and spending. We're expecting a number up 1%, a bit of a disappointment, up 0.6. Now, that isn't bad considering sequentially it was up 0.2 until we get a revision. That's the strongest level since October when it was up 0.8. If we look at the spending side, better than expected, up 1.8. That is the best level going all the way back to, and this is pretty healthy, going back to March of 21 when it was up 5.2%. Now, if we look at real personal spending adjusted for pricing pressures, it's up 1.1%, exactly as expected. Now, the money numbers on the personal consumption deflator month over month, and realize the high water mark was 1% going back to 1980. That was in June of 22. It is up 0.6%. 0.6%. In the rearview mirror, it's up 0.2, up 0.6 actually is the highest level. Now going back to that high water mark, which was up 1.0. And if we look at year over year personal consumption expenditure, the deflator, it's up 5.4. The high water mark there was 7%. That went back to 81. That was in June of 22. So 5.4%. How does that comp? Well, in the rearview mirror, we had 5%. That now becomes 5.3. So 5.4 is the highest since November when it was 5.5. On the month over month core personal consumption expenditure deflator month over month, high watermark up 0.63%. That was back to 2011 comp. That was in April of 21. It's currently up 0.6.
So as we can see, it went up, right? In all different sectors. I mean, some of them, they went down, but a lot of them ultimately went up. And, that's why it's bad. This is, so CPI went down a little bit. PPI went up a little bit. The PCE, which is what came out today, showed pretty dramatic increases in some of them, but we kind of expected that given if we're comparing it to last year. Obviously, like last year, this time is when the Russia-Ukraine war started. So the food and energy prices were going to be higher, than they were. The question is, can they start coming down over the next couple months with how the Fed is raising rates? Amit, are you going to talk about the Palantir report on clients? Yes. So for those that haven't seen it, Crossroads says, if you haven't already, check out the Foundry ROI study for Palantir. It's all over FinTwit. It'll make a good video topic. I agree. Probably will make a video about it either today or tomorrow. There's a report that came out. I got to see a little bit. Actually, so I got in contact with an interesting guy. Okay. And I'm going to tell you guys about him probably next week. But he even texted this to me last night. And it's a Forrester report on the total economic impact of Palantir Foundry. And it's a hell of a report. I'm looking at it right now. It's a 25-page report, and it's basically going through all of the ROI that Palantir can give to an organization. Forrester also is a leading kind of industry, what do you call it? Like research firm that also gave Palantir the top position when it comes to AI and machine learning applications. That was back in June of 2022. So they are pretty legit when they do reports. These aren't really biased. Like they really go deep into, like, there's just numbers in these reports, and then they make analysis based on that. So we'll talk about that report also tonight on the Palantir Weekly. But that just showcases that there's going to be companies that are just, they're using Palantir at the end of the day, and they're using Palantir for a good reason because they save money. Additionally, Palantir had another partnership that came out. Very conservative numbers, adjusting down for risk and discounted cash flow. Yeah, they also there was another report that Palantir partnered with Competidex. It's a startup in Germany. Okay, it's a startup in Germany, and it's an AI-based powered startup. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit. 9:30 a.m. February 24th, 2023. Enjoy your Friday, everybody. The stock market is open. Wake your ass up. The stock market is open. Google, $89. Let's get you to 85, and then I will start buying a little bit more. Look, I think Google is grossly being disrespected by the market, but if the market's going to keep disrespecting it, I will be a buyer. Where's SoFi? Am I buying SoFi today? How bad is SoFi get hit? How bad does SoFi get? 6.4. Okay, no. SoFi's got to get down a little bit more. We got to get SoFi down to like the 590 range Got to get it there. Okay, NVIDIA holding up actually strong. Amazon at 93, Alibaba at 90, Microsoft 250. Microsoft is getting demolished from its high of 276. The market doesn't give a shit anymore about this ChatGPT nonsense. No, I'm just kidding. The market's like, hey, Microsoft, your ChatGPT thing is not really making any money yet. So I don't know why we gave you that premium, but we should probably take it away from you. So yeah, that's happening to Microsoft. What else do we have? Tesla at 196. So Tesla's been teetering from 190 to 213. You know, it was funny, guys. My dad yesterday, he came up to me. He was like, should we get a Tesla? And I'm like, what? He's like, should we get a Tesla? And I'm just like, why? And so he started talking to me about like, well, the future is EVs, so we might as well get a Tesla. And I was so surprised. He didn't say, can we get a Lucid? Can we get a Polestar? No, he said, can we get a Tesla? So, obviously the demand for Tesla is pretty strong when you got someone like my dad thinking about Tesla. But it's also really interesting because they've been stuck in that 190 to 213 range. One could argue going down to $100 was probably irrational, but you could also argue going up 100% in a month was also a bit irrational. So there might be a sweet spot where like 170, 180 is where it stagnates for a while before the next earnings and the macro gets better, giving it the time to get there, which means there might be another real buying opportunity for some people. We're not going to get $105, but if you get 170, 180, that's not the worst thing in the world. NASDAQ 11,404. NASDAQ 404 points away from getting into the $10,000 range. It's down 186 points in this morning. So NASDAQ's getting hit as well. Where's the SPY? I say we're at 397, 395. There we go. So SPY is down. We were at 418 on February 2nd. It is completely gone down to 395. Look, if we get to 3,200 on the S&P, I would not be sad about it because I would probably lose like maybe another 10, 20K on paper, but I have the same amount ready to go to load up. And I would really, really enjoy buying that dip if we get down to 3,200 again. So there is this report from like the World Economic Summit or some shit that says we are headed for a massive global recession. I think some YouTubers have talked about it. Like a global, like it's bad type shit. I don't know if that's the case. I mean, I think that's a little bit just, they're putting that stuff out there. Especially because earnings have been good. I think earnings would have to collapse, jobs would have to collapse, and we would have to really get into serious debt in order for that to be the case. Meta at 168, so Meta officially falling below 170. Meta was at 185, almost 189. Yeah, look at this, 197. Look at this. Meta was at 197 February 2nd. So that's that's a 14.7% decrease in Meta. So Meta's down about 15%. And Netflix also 319. That was at 360 at one point. Netflix is also down pretty badly from that. Gabe, we all know who's the happiest person today on the planet. Gabe. Good red morning. Your dad is a smart man. Amid Google stock is being involved in weighed down by the Supreme Court case over Section 230. I don't see a rally. I agree. And look, I don't think the Supreme Court is gonna screw up Google. I mean, like they've been under so much controversy over the past decade, to be honest, with antitrust. So, yeah, I think that should be resolved before we get there. Investor Day next week. That's a big deal as well. March 1st. When is March 1st? March 1st is Wednesday. Okay, so March 1st is Wednesday. Okay. Yes, get a Tesla Amit. I got the Y for the wife. She loved it. Yeah, I don't know. My dad was thinking like there's going to be Tesla. Amit, will you join my post-market show today? So I am going to be in a meeting, Gabe. I actually am pitching at that time, so not going to be able to join today. But I'm sure you will have a lot to talk about if the market keeps going red. When I think of puts, I think of Gabe. Yeah, man. Look, I want Gabe to be right on this so he makes a ton of money and gets to tell everyone to F off because that'll be super dope. But also, I would like to buy when it's really bad. I mean, I don't need the market to go to the moon this year. I have no house to buy. I have no bills to pay off that are that intense. Like, I am totally fine being down another 40% and staring at a red portfolio and buying the dip because I have been keeping some cash on the side. And so I'm ready to do it. And I missed October 2013 or 13th, and I missed June 2022. I bought some stuff there, but I didn't buy, like Vitaly, for example, he bought Nvidia at $100 in January for 100 shares. Right. So now he's up, more than 100% on that. And he's thinking, do I sell it? But he's on the cowbell. He said he's probably not going to sell just because he likes to be long-term on this stuff. But he also agrees Nvidia is a bit overvalued. Like it's a lot. Like the earnings they put up were great, but is it enough to justify that? Now Square, I want to talk about. Square had a pretty decent earnings. The problem with Square is what are they doing, right? So there's a $45 billion company and they changed their name to Block. And so you've got to ask yourself, what is the bull case for Square to become a $250 billion company, which it became at one point. And Kathy Wood was buying this stock at $190. She liked Square when it was that high. And it's a big position for her. And, I don't know if any of the Bitcoin stuff is relevant. It's not showing up on the balance sheet. I saw Cash App stuff. I saw small business transactions. I saw MAUs, but I did not see anything really regarding Bitcoin. And so they changed the entire name to the company, just like Meta, but they're not really doing anything. At least Meta is doing something real with the metaverse. I don't know what Square is doing with Block. So I think 45 billion is, I don't want to say it's expensive, but it's a little, it's like, well, what exactly is the bull case for Square? It is one of the most amazing fintechs. I agree. And it's one of the best consumer financial products. So I wouldn't say it's overvalued, but I do want to dive deeper into like figuring out how do they get to bigger scale. Amit has a bear case for every company except Palantir. No, I don't. I have so many bear cases for Palantir. I literally, one of the first videos I made was type in why Palantir won't make it. Amit. There's tons of, and I was actually right about, I said the SPACs are going to screw them. I said this back in December 2021. I said it might screw them. And it absolutely screwed them. Like there's only one, there are like 5 SPACs: Lilium, Tritium Charging, Black Sky, Wejo, and yeah, is it that 4? I think there's maybe one more, but there's maybe one more that are good. The rest of them, they got absolutely destroyed on. They got pretty bad on it. So, yeah, I mean, look, there's definitely a bear case for Palantir. There's super bear cases for Palantir, but we will see if they're able to overcome them at the end of the day. When these Forrester reports come out, like the ones that came out yesterday, I mean, that's when you're like, holy crap, like these companies are really using this product and it's not a joke anymore. I got a really interesting call yesterday from someone who's been in Palantir since 2019, and I'm going to meet them next week. And so I'm very excited to meet them as well. I'll tell you guys some details after I meet them, but they also are just incredibly bullish on Palantir. There's a lot of people in the world that STRC. Yep, that's the one. Sarkos Robotics. There's a lot of people that believe in Palantir, other than our little community on YouTube that have big money in the company and that see the vision deeply. I mean, Palantir is a global company, and Karp and these guys are talking to a lot of people around the world. And again, this is the fun part about investing in them. A lot of people believe they can become a $100 billion company. Right now, they're a $14 billion company. So it's like, can they do it? Right. And it's like, this is the unknown part, but this is the part about investing. It's like, we don't know. You want to invest in Nvidia and Tesla right now? Go ahead. They've already proven they can do it. Palantir hasn't proven it. And that's the cool part about your money being in it. Because if they can prove it, then it can really be cool. Square bull case: become the new kind of digital wallet and create a flywheel with Cash App and POS terminals, possibly enabling Bitcoin transaction for small businesses. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Especially if Bitcoin begins to get back to normal and becomes an actual transactional part of people's lives. I'm not as bullish that will happen, but if that does, then that's a big thing. Cash Card use went up 56% year over year, 750 million gross profit from Cash App as well. Yeah, I mean the growth, they grew profits 40% year over year. They grew 1.6 billion in profits, which is 40% growth. I mean, like the growth was absolutely phenomenal for Square, absolutely phenomenal. So I just have to go deeper into like, is this a stock I would think I want to hold? All right, let's take a look at this one. Inflation has peaked. Inflation has peaked. Let's get some bullish news here. Inflation has peaked.
Decent rise in treasury yields has made bonds look very attractive to investors. That's just fascinating. Let's bring in Priya Mishra. She's global head of rate strategy. So it's rate strategy. So we may not talk at all about stocks at TD Securities, but Priya, I'm reading all of your comments, and you're pretty hawkish. That's why it's so interesting that you're buying the 10-year, because you don't think it applies to the 10-year. You think that the 2-year and that the Fed may go even further than people are expecting, maybe all the way to 5.5%. That would be on Fed funds at this point.
Right. Yeah. So, I think the Fed is fighting the inflation monster right now. And our view is that inflation has, probably peaked, but it's going to be really hard to get to that 2% target. And the Fed is committed to that 2% target. So I think they're going to have to keep hiking these 25 basis point increments. I mean, 5.5. I wouldn't put it past them to go to 5.75, 6%. I think they really need to see clear signs that inflation's getting to their 2% target. The problem is that I think that all this talk around the no landing scenario or the soft landing, I think you're really fighting the Fed. The Fed is telling us that they're going to slow things down. And our view is there's no way to get inflation to 2% without the Fed slowing the labor market. So the reason I like the long end is the long end is not pricing it. So 10s, 30s, I would say even 5-year treasuries is not pricing in a hard landing. Our view is the Fed is telling you they're going to have to slow things down. If you're thinking about treasuries, longer term treasuries, that's pricing in a chance of a recession next year. I think it's much higher chance of recession will actually happen. So I think owning the 10-year is positioning for the economy slowing down. It's a safe haven move away from risk assets. I think a lot of people are going into cash. I think cash is fine for now. It gives you liquidity. But really, will cash be there when the economy heads into a recession and the Fed starts to cut rates? We don't expect any rate cuts this year, but next year, I think if the unemployment rate is getting close to 5%, the Fed's going to start to cut rates. So then that cash, which is great right now, doesn't look that great, which is why I would say owning some treasuries, hard to say whether 4% is going to be the peak.
That's not bad analysis because the Fed has said they're not going to cut rates. And, if they're lying or not is contingent upon how deeply inflation can go down, but they are not lying if inflation continues to act the way it is because they can't cut rates, right? Like imagine the Fed cut rates right now, it would explode inflation. So, or at least, that's sort of the conventional logical analysis. So if unemployment actually gets closer to 5% right now, it's at like 3.5, right? Unemployment rate. What is the unemployment rate officially? Yeah, right now from Jan 2020, it's 3.4%. There's 5.7 million unemployed people in the United States. There's 2.1 million unemployment insurance claims. Oh, wow. You can do this by state and country. This is so in New Jersey, there's 163,000 unemployed people. I'm one of them. I call myself a startup founder, but that just means you're unemployed. And there's 114,000 unemployment insurance claims. Wow, this is interesting. I didn't know you could do this literally by state. Okay, so yeah, there's a 3.4% unemployment rate. If we get that to 5%, that's when the Fed is probably more likely to think about getting rid of or starting to cut rates. Someone said do it for Georgia. Let's do it for Georgia. In Georgia, there's a 3%. Let me just share my screen. This is cool. I've never been able to look at this shit. Okay, Georgia has a 3% unemployment rate, 157,000 unemployed people, 34,000 unemployment insurance claims. Let's do New York. 5.9%. Okay, let's do California. 4.1%, 782,000 unemployed people, 437,000 unemployment insurance claims. Let's do Texas. What about Texas? 3.9%, 571,000 employed, 135,000 unemployed. Let's do Alabama. And then we got to do Florida. Alabama has 63,000 unemployed people. And then you got Florida. You've got 271,000 unemployed people. So relatively 3.4% is pretty low. It's not that much. And if we get it, to 5%, then we're going to see the Fed potentially cut rates a little bit more. You wouldn't be considered unemployed because you're not seeking employment. No, I'm still unemployed. Enphase is holding a 200 really well. The amount of people I've heard say they're going to buy 180 makes me think we might not get that low. I don't know, man. If the market keeps dropping, it's going to have to drop at some level. Like, yeah, it's not going to be even 200 is it's pricey for Enphase. Let's not get confused there. I mean, like not only does Vitaly, who's the biggest Enphase bull, say so, but also Meet Kevin. I mean, he's been in Enphase for like 2 years now. So I kind of trust his price target on that. Let's see. Can we get it down? If we can get it down, that'll be good. Looking forward to your return on SoFi Weekly this evening. Yes, SoFi Weekly will be back on my channel. Excited for it. It'll be fun and it'll be cool. All right, let's get back into the market and see where we're at. So Square is up 0.3%. S&P down again, 394. SoFi 630. There we go, SoFi. 630s. Just keep on going down to the 5s because I don't want to buy you in the 6s. Not yet. SoFi's price to sales, guys, is like 3. And we were looking at Lucid's price to sales yesterday, okay, when we were analyzing Lucid. It's 45. So you are paying 45 times in terms of a premium to buy this company. And this is after the stock went down 15% at $8. Like the price to sales of Lucid is just insane. And so that was what we were focusing on that in earnings. We were like, who's buying this company and why? Like, why would you buy this company? I don't get it. I know there's a cult around it, but why? They're obviously not the next Tesla. They can't make the cars. They can barely deliver the cars. Like 45 times price to sales means that you expect them to grow massively, and they're just not doing that. They don't have the infrastructure to do that. I mean, you can't buy it because the Saudis are injecting it with cash. They only have a year and a half left of runway on this. So I don't know what's the bull case for Lucid. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, when it comes to SoFi and Square, I would also pick SoFi over Square because Square's price to sales, Square probably has a little bit more potential. I mean, SoFi has more potential because of Galileo. Square doesn't have anything like that, but Square is obviously a proven thing that works. It's not a bank per se. Now, again, the multiples on a bank are a bit lower than tech companies, but SoFi has a lot of tech stuff oriented with it. So I think like a 4 or 5x out of SoFi is way more possible than a 4 or 5x out of Square over the next 3 years, especially given the the performance stock units that are aligned with Anthony Noto's deal. I mean, the guy is very incentivized to get to $26. Tesla down even more to 193. Spotify at 115. NASDAQ even lower at 11,367. So now we are 224 points down on the NASDAQ. Meta down even more. Netflix should have bought puts when it was at 360. I knew this shit would but again, see, everyone who bought puts on NVIDIA probably were like, it makes sense. And then it just surprises you. And that's the hard part with buying. But you got to just be ready to get burned on some of these. And I didn't want to get burned on. I will not get burned on Netflix. I will get burned on any stock, but not Netflix. Netflix will not burn me. Enphase officially down under 200. There we go. Under 200. Rocket Lab's looking like a buy. Let's look at RKLB. Rocket Lab's 4.39. It's been there for a while, right? Or has it? 5.68 was the high back in Jan. 4.39. I got to do a podcast with Matt from the Palantir Weekly to do, because he's big on Rocket Labs. And again, my life has just been so busy. I really haven't had the time to do a proper deep dive. But I got to do a podcast with him because he wanted to talk about it a lot more. Why is Netflix in the FANG category? Well, Jim Cramer came up with that FANG thing, and Netflix at the time, it was the most innovative. Like streaming wasn't a thing. It was very innovative, and so Netflix got put there. But the problem is like it's just not that innovative anymore. It's not that tech anymore. Amid buying end phase 2, 180. We're going to look at that. Square price. So yeah, Square's price of sales under. It's just market cap is just way bigger. Obviously, they're growing a lot more, putting up what did SoFi put up $1 billion in revenue this year in 2022? 1.2 or something. I think they put up close to $1 billion in revenue. I'm totally blanking on the number. Obviously, Square is putting up $1 billion in profit, which is way different. But if SoFi can get GAAP profitable this year, then that would also be pretty good for SoFi. What else do we got? Let's see. Let's look at this one. AI will disrupt markets we thought were impenetrable. We're talking about search here. So let's take a look at this clip.
Crawford, Executive Vice President and Portfolio Manager of Alger, joins me right here, Post 9. Welcome back. I'm looking at the stock right now, 14%. Yet I hear people all day say, well, the earnings weren't that good. I mean, you own it. So what's your take?
Yeah, I think, let's take a step back from the earnings today. And NVIDIA is going to be the dominant compute engine over the next decade, driving cloud, accelerated compute and cloud, driving, regenerative AI. And so how can you not own this at some point? So I think that's what you're seeing as a reaction in the market. People were hoping that they would guide down. They didn't. They actually guided up. And they've inflected growth in all their markets.
Now, as bullish as you obviously are, okay, about the stock, and it's still 20% away from its high. It's a double off of its low. So even at these levels, with the earnings that they had, this is justified, do you think, this move that we've seen?
So I think an interesting thing about enablers of markets and businesses that are demand creators is when you have exponential growth in their end markets, oftentimes the long term is underestimated. And that very well may be what is happening with NVIDIA today. That the TAM potential is so unique and large that over time, the estimates are just too low.
See, I'm glad you used the TAM, total addressable market, right? Because you know what happens with tech, right? We get around these buzzwords. It's eyeballs, and then it's TAM, and now it's AI. Is there too much hype?
No, there's absolutely not too much hype in AI. AI is
Now, so this is the question, right? He asks, is there too much hype? By the way, some of you said this looks like Vijaya Gade, the former legal officer of Twitter. Low-key, she does. She does a little bit. But look, here's the question. Is AI overhyped? Now, they asked the same question about crypto and Web3 in 2021, and all of these same analysts, fund managers that, by the way, are incredibly biased because they're betting on these companies, they said, no, it's not overhyped. It's going to change the entire financial infrastructure of our economy, blah, 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 blah. They were wrong. They were dead wrong. I don't think they are dead wrong on this AI question. I really don't. But I do think there are certain subsets of this industry that are absolutely overhyped, and you don't need all of that hype. But I do agree that this is a real thing. It's not like crypto.
something that is revolutionizing the way we will work, the way we will compute, the way we will interact with our society. It is not too much hype. I think it feels like a lot of hype on the consumer side because ChatGPT was just revealed. But people have been working on AI for 3 decades. And the promise of AI has always been what we're seeing in ChatGPT and then some.
So on that note, then how do you think about Microsoft versus Alphabet, for example?
Yeah.
Microsoft has seemingly all the hype about it. And now we're wondering, oh, well, this dominant place that Alphabet had in search, is that now going to be at least lessened to some degree?
Yeah, so what I think is really interesting about kind of this innovation engine that we are seeing that is actually not linear anymore. It's exponential change in what we're seeing. And in part, it's because software is starting to write software. We're no longer limited by a developer writing code. It's going to disrupt markets that we thought were impenetrable. Google, 3 months ago, I would never have thought that the Google search engine was at risk and their margin structure was at risk.
And you really think it is today?
I do. I think, and
Yeah, see, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
and you know, hats off to the management team of Microsoft that they had the foresight to really like take the investment in ChatGPT and propagate it throughout their entire platform. That they were able to recognize what is about to come.
This is where I get a little confused, man. Like it's trying to analyze disruption in the markets is not an easy thing to do. And we can tell because Cathie Wood has pretty much failed at analyzing disruption at scale. Teladoc has not been disruptive. Coinbase has not been disruptive, at least from a stock business perspective, right? Roku has not been disruptive. Zoom has not been disruptive. Like these companies at one point were disruptive when hype cycles and interest rates were zero, but they haven't disrupted anything. And this is the time when you disrupt, when interest rates go high. And that's why Palantir is exciting to me, because they are actually disrupting. And, you know, there's so many different ways you could use that word, but they are actually doing something when interest rates are high, when things are bad, that it leads you to think when things get good, they're building such a foundation for themselves, like getting GAAP profitable, working with Ukraine, blah, 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 that they can really succeed in the long term. I mean, there's very few. To analyze disruption means you're taking away something from a monopoly. So here's a good example, right? Facebook disrupted every social network, including MySpace, which was the behemoth. By the way, Drake got his first, like Drake exploded on MySpace. People forget, like MySpace really launched music careers. Why did Facebook disrupt it? Because Facebook introduced real identity. And when real identity was introduced, which means there wasn't usernames, like Jack Smith from 5th grade that you haven't seen in 5 years, like you want to check out what he's doing. And so you go to his profile, right? And you spend more time, and it created an actual network effect. That was real disruption. YouTube, real disruption, having millions of people upload their videos in one place and where you can access it for free by watching some ads and you get exposed to all these different people. That's real disruption to the entertainment industry. When you talk about ChatGPT, I don't know if it's real disruption yet to Google. And I think it's hard to analyze that. Like it's really hard to analyze ChatGPT is putting a dent in Google's ecosystem, and therefore Microsoft. I mean, even Satya Nadella said, "Look, they're the 800-pound gorilla. We're trying to make them dance, and we just want to see if they come out to dance." Google's owns the whole fucking dance studio. I mean, like they don't really have to dance. I don't see that many people not using Google over ChatGPT over the basic searches. Theoretically, yes. Could it destroy their margins if more people use chat? Yes. It's just a question of, do you actually get them to disrupt in that way? And that I don't know. And I could be wrong that it really does. I just don't think it would do that. Sachin, thank you for being here in the chat. Kathy Wood has disrupted herself. She's been buying a crap ton of Coinbase, and it's just it's so interesting, some of the stuff that she's doing, man. Absolutely interesting. Kathy hides behind her 5-year time frame. Just look at her 5-year chart. Yeah, look, the 5-year chart is interesting because she's not. I mean, look at a stock like Spotify. She was buying the stock at $300 when the stock was, going bananas, right? Because of Joe Rogan and all this stuff. And then she sold out of it 2 years later, right? And it's like, well, if you really had a 5-year trajectory on Palantir, Spotify, etc., give them 5 years, let it play out. And obviously she doesn't, right? So it's hard, right? Like, why is Spotify disruptive? You say you have a thesis, but like, what is it? So there's just so many things that when these fund managers are like, yeah, well, Google's dead because AI is taking over, and they're like, I don't know if they're really analyzing disruption at a high level. A lot of these analysts are not that smart. They're just like analysts, right? They just analyze shit. They're not that smarter than you and me. Just because they have a fancy name saying they're an analyst at some fund does not mean they're that smart. They're humans. They make mistakes. Look at how many analysts have honestly been just horribly wrong on Palantir. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it destroys Google. My experience with ChatGPT is amazing. There would be some impact on Google. I think it would have to be enough of a long-term impact on Google in order for it to actually like for example, your day-to-day when I'm searching for I was searching for like some recommendation yesterday for some restaurant. I don't know if I go to ChatGPT to do that instantly, right? And until that happens, I don't know if there's necessarily the biggest impact on Google's margins. But obviously, if that does happen, that would be a little bit harder. All right, let's go back a little bit into the market and see what we've got going on. We've got S&P at 394, so still relatively flat from when we last checked. Microsoft at 249, under 250. Nvidia 231, Amazon 93, Palantir at 803, so back up from 791. So just got up a little bit higher. Roku at 64, Nasdaq 11,381. Yeah, relatively flat. Enphase back up under 201. Market's going up just a little bit, but nothing crazy. So we're going to see where the market kind of turns out for the rest of the day and where it goes from there. What is the cost Microsoft incurs on ChatGPT versus Bing search? Isn't it 10x more expensive or 30x? It's a lot more expensive, that's for sure. And that's why they were limiting like their 5 searches a day or whatever. And that's why they're charging the $20 premium, because I mean, OpenAI is running through those Azure credits like it's nothing. It's better to see generative AI as disruption force rather than ChatGPT alone. Yeah, I agree. And generative AI and the applications of it, which is what Palantir and Tesla and companies like that are working towards, NVIDIA, AMD, obviously, even Meta to an extent, is really exciting versus a box of ChatGPT. The companies that I think are going to be weird in this is all the startups that are using the OpenAI API to build their startups, which are going to be a lot of them. Like there's going to be companies building lawyer, AI templates and resume templates and all this random stuff. And I don't know if a lot of those are justified enough for like a $20 a month subscription when you could just pay that to ChatGPT, right? So these are the things that I think are going to be interesting as well. And like generative AI injected into Spotify, making their music recommendations even stronger than they are right now. That's where I see the value of generative AI to some of these bigger Fortune 500 companies, not necessarily just for ChatGPT. ChatGPT is super limited, has no capability for conjecture, opinion, forecasting, theory. It's basically a fact-checking idiot. Yeah, and it's going to get better over time. It's just going to be a question of people are going to be using it. That's why the future data centers will move more and more on ARM-based chips. Intel is a big reason for high cost in the data center. AMD is 30 to 35% cheaper, and ARM will be even cheaper in the future. Yeah, and again, I think that's also the bull case for in a lot of these semiconductor products that are really showing something different in their applications of the use of AI. Late night stock talks tonight. So we'll have SoFi Weekly and Palantir Weekly tonight. All right, we'll have SoFi and Palantir Weekly. All right, guys, I'm out. It's 10 a.m. I have a pretty big pitch today. I am pitching the team of Jason Calacanis. He is a legendary angel investor. He invested in Uber when it was $5 million, put in $25,000. He made $115 million. He invested in Robinhood when it was just an idea. When Vlad came up to him and said, I want to make stock trading free for everyone, he was like, boom, take my money. And he invested in Calm.com when they were also just a small company. Now they're a $2 billion company. So today at 5 p.m., I will be doing that pitch. Super excited for it. I've been preparing all day, all of yesterday. So I'll upload the pitch once it's done to YouTube so you guys can see it. I have 2 minutes to make an impression. And, if we get through these 2 minutes, we get to have a real pitch with Jason Calacanis. And if I can get Jason Calacanis to be an investor in my startup, that's just a big fucking deal. That's just like his name holds a lot of weight in the industry. So excited for it. All right, buddy. Thank you all for the good luck. It means a lot to me. Sean, Mike, Gabe, Vincent, Crossroads, Cameron, Brian, Eeyore, David, Salman. I appreciate it. Means a lot to me. Iceman, JJ, DRK. Thank you guys. Brian, I will see you guys tonight on SoFi and Palantir Weekly. Good night, everybody.